You're listening to a podcast from News Talk 95.1 FM, 790 AM KFYO, segment 2 of an interview with Carl Tepper, the host of the PolitiFAITH program, interviewing Bart Reagor on July 7th, 2019.
PolitiFAITH is brought to you by LSG Tactical Arms, 2650 34th Street. All your firearm needs, including gunsmithing, used firearms, firearm gear, the silencer with the silent. They'll take you through the silencer process, and a vast selection of holsters. LSG Tactical Arms, 2650 34th Street. Buy local, your Second Amendment headquarters. All right. I am with Bart Reagor, and we're talking about his faith, what's taken him through this year. I was hoping, and I think it is inspirational to everyone who. I was talking to Bart, asking him to come on the show about a lot of us have had tough years. His has been more public. People have sicknesses. People lose jobs. Their businesses implode. It's almost worse in these hot economies. You think, boy, I must be the worst businessman in the world.
Oh, man.
It happens to everybody. So
there's so many bad things. How about the kids that are getting bullied online, and families going through divorces, and
so even when things are going well for most of the people, there's still challenges to overcome in our lives. And Bart has, he got on the show and he said, I'm thankful for this, and I'm thankful for my family. And I think as Christians, that's the attitude we need to have. Bart, you grew up in Richardson.
I did.
Were you, I grew up going to a little church, a little Baptist church, and it was part of my life from the very beginning. And I was saved at 7 and have always felt a very close relationship with God. It's not like that for everyone. How was it for you? Is it the same story or a little different?
Well, we started out going to a church in Richardson, and I think it was called Richardson Heights Baptist Church. It was on Custer Road. It was real close to my house and my grandparents' house. And my grandfather was one of the deacons there. And, I thought it was cool that my granddad spoke in the church. And, and then as I got older, I don't know if it was because of sports or because my dad started traveling on the road, we didn't go as much. And we started going again. My parents went through a little bit of a rocky time, and I was a teenager, and we started going to First United Methodist Church in Richardson, and the pastor there was unbelievable, Reverend Ogden. I'll never forget that guy. And, it came at a critical time for me because, obviously I was playing sports and all these other things, but I went to a school where a lot of people were, smoking pot and doing things that I didn't want to do, and a lot of times I felt, alienated, and so a lot of times on Saturday night I didn't go do what everybody else was doing because I didn't want to be in that situation. And so the church became kind of all my friends were at church, and there were kids from all over town, and I did the MYF youth deal, and we had trips, and so I think that was a great thing to happen for me at that time period. And then and I've been spiritual, really, God's always tugged at my heart, and there were times in my life where God has tugged at my heart and I didn't want to hear it and I didn't listen to it, but he's always tugged very hard on my heart. And, in my late 20s, my mom and dad were high school sweethearts. My mother's dad was in the Navy 21 years. And when he retired from the Navy, they moved to Richardson, and they moved in right next door to my dad in Richardson. And they were the same age, and, my dad was an athlete, but also kind of a renegade. And but they started dating, and my parents actually had me when they were 18. I'm the first one on either side of my family to get to go to college, and so.
So did you said you were really, your first sport was at soccer?
That was my main sport, yeah.
And then what did you play through high school? Did you play football as well through high school?
Football and baseball. I was good at football and baseball.
And so did you get recruited to come to Texas Tech, or how did that all come about that you ended up in Lubbock?
Yeah, I mean, I probably I probably recruited them harder than they recruited me, but I got letters, and I'm a 5'10", 180-pound middle linebacker playing 5A football. There's not a big need for that, and but I did get a letter, and I came out here. He's laughing at me. I came out here, and I said, hey, I'd like to walk on at least or something, and so they made me an invited walk-on. And back when I was a freshman, there was unlimited amount of walk-ons you could have. And freshmen came in a week before the other players came in, but I came out for summer school both semesters and started working out with the varsity guys and those things, and I was in great shape. And I actually, started out, kind of at the bottom of the freshmen, worked my way up to the top of the freshmen in that first week.
You're like the Texas Tech Rudy.
Yeah, no, a little bit different. I actually got to play besides one down,
one down.
I made varsity as a freshman. I was a second team rover and played special teams. And
what year was that?
That was 1984, my freshman year.
Okay.
And I was the kamikaze wedge buster on the kickoff team, which is not even a part of the game now because there's not wedges, because it's like one of the most dangerous things to do in the game. But that's what I like.
Who was the coach at that time? It wasn't Spike Dykes.
Jerry Moore.
Jerry Moore.
I had 3 head coaches in 4 years.
Okay.
Jerry Moore for 2, Dave McWilliams for 1, and then Spike took over for the bowl game in '86.
Okay, so what was your major at Texas Tech?
I started out pre-med and got married in college. I wanted to go to medical school and be sports medicine. And my wife and I got married in college. And when I finished playing football, I finished in 4 years, and I still had a year of school left. And one of my teammates, a guy named Boyd Cowan, who was a safety from Odessa, he was married too, and he said, hey, do you want to go sell cars over the Christmas holidays? We played our last game in Houston in the Astrodome. That was my last football game, and we tied 10-10. If we'd have won, we'd have went to another bowl game. We didn't win, so the season was over. He said, I sold cars last summer over at Pollard. Do you want to come out here with me and sell some cars? And I did, and I liked it. And they asked me to come back, if I wanted to. I couldn't go back that next semester because the coaches had me working as a graduate assistant coach. But in May of '88 to May of '89, I got my degree. I took summer school, fall, and in the fall, I switched my major to marketing. Business was my minor, and got out and stayed in the car business.
How many years? So you worked in the car business for a while, and I think you bought your own dealership a few years later.
No, I started in '87, and I started my company in 2003. I started with one used car lot on 19th Street, the old Mears Mazda building, and started out, did some banking over at Plains Capital Bank, worked out a deal with them, put all the money I had in a CD, and we were really small at first, but we grew, and sold Rick part of my business in 2006, and soon after that we bought the Ford dealership in Levelland that was a little bitty.
So you had a relationship with Coach Dykes, and then Rick Dykes, who was Coach Dykes as well. And how did you all end up together? Obviously football, but were they watching you selling cars and becoming successful at it, and they wanted to team up with you, or how did that work?
Well, Rick's kind of an entrepreneur, and one day, Rick, the year I left the Gene Messer Auto Group, where I was running 2 of their 4 dealerships in Lubbock, was 2003. I left in May of '03. And that summer, Rick and I spent a lot of time together because that's the year he quit coaching football for Arizona, and he moved back to Lubbock so he could spend more time with his son and children, and decided to get out of football. And he wanted me to get in the real estate business with him. And I actually even went and got my real estate license, but I told him that was too slow for me.
Too slow for you? You like flipping cars quicker?
Well, it was just, I think why I liked the automobile business because it was fast-paced and, it was competitive, and, it was a lot more.
So during this situation, did you have a lot of disappointments? A lot of people, you've expressed really well that, and you don't have to name names, but you've expressed really well about how thankful you are of so many of the people who have supported you and continue to support you. even during a controversy. But have you been disappointed by a lot of people? Do you get negative comments? Are they mad at you at the grocery store? How does that work?
I'll tell you, nobody, since this all started, I've probably gotten close to over 100,000, couple 100,000 positive text messages. And I've gotten 5 negative text messages since it started last year. And, 2 of them were from disgruntled employees. One of them was from a son of a dealer that I didn't buy his parents' dealership. And the other one, are people that were probably drunk late at night. I don't know. But, I haven't, in person, when I go places, like I work out now because our gym, we had to sell all of our gym equipment downtown in the Zax Club. But, when I went back to Premier a couple of weeks ago and started working out again, I got hugs. I got, there's a lot of people have been very kind to me, and thank you for that. And, I'm very thankful.
What is that, 30 seconds? What, 40? Do you credit that to Lubbock or America in general, or just people's hearts around here?
I don't know. I think it's just, I think Lubbock, I named Lubbock the friendliest city in America,
yeah.
And put billboards up about it. So I think the people are good people, general.
All right, we're at the break. I want to cover that a little bit more at the backside of this break. This is Carl Tepper, Bart Reagor, and this is PolitiFAITH.